There is a streetlight in the Netherlands that has been running on plant power for years without interruption. Not solar power, collected by manufactured panels and stored in expensive lithium batteries. Not wind power generated by massive turbines connected to centralized grid infrastructure. Not any form of electricity that requires manufacturing complex equipment in overseas factories, mining rare earth materials from environmentally devastated landscapes, or paying monthly utility bills to corporations that profit from energy dependence. A streetlight powered entirely and exclusively by ordinary living plants, growing naturally in the soil beneath it. The plants are not genetically modified or specially engineered. They are ordinary grass and common wetland species that grow naturally anywhere in the world without special care or attention. The technology is not futuristic or experimental. It was proven, documented, and demonstrated in working installations over a decade ago. The science is not controversial or disputed. Peer-reviewed academic journals have published the underlying research repeatedly, and other scientists have verified the findings independently. Yet almost no one knows this remarkable technology even exists. The company that developed this technology is called Plant E, based in the Netherlands. They emerged from research conducted at Wageningen University, one of the most respected agricultural research institutions on Earth. They have powered streetlights, charging stations, and wireless sensors using nothing but living plants and electrodes buried in soil. The plants generate electricity 24 hours a day. They generate electricity at night when solar panels produce nothing. They generate electricity on cloudy days when solar output drops dramatically. They generate electricity continuously simply by growing, photosynthesizing, and existing. The $2 trillion global electricity industry sees this technology as an existential threat. A world where every lawn generates power is a world where utility companies lose customers permanently. A world where rice paddies power villages is a world where power infrastructure investments become worthless. A world where rooftop gardens eliminate electricity bills is a world where energy corporations cannot extract monthly payments from captive customers. MIT has researched bioelectrochemical systems for years. Stanford has explored plant-based energy generation. Universities worldwide have documented and verified this phenomenon. The scientific establishment knows that plants can generate electricity. They have known for over a decade. The public knows almost nothing. In the next 14 minutes, everything the energy industry has suppressed. The exact science that makes plant electricity work. The proven installations already operating. The economics that threaten $2 trillion in annual utility revenue. And the simple reason why this technology has not reached your home despite being ready for deployment. One plant, free electricity, forever. The file is open. There's a biological process happening beneath every single plant on Earth that generates electricity continuously around the clock. Photosynthesis captures sunlight and converts it into chemical energy stored in simple sugars. This fundamental process appears in every elementary school science textbook worldwide. What those textbooks consistently fail to mention is what happens next beneath the soil surface where roots meet the microbial world. Plants cannot use all the energy they produce through photosynthesis for their own growth and metabolism. Up to 70% of the sugars and organic compounds created by photosynthesis travel downward through root systems and release directly into the surrounding soil. The plant essentially feeds the complex microbial ecosystem that supports its growth and provides nutrients in return. This symbiotic relationship between plants and soil microorganisms has existed and evolved for hundreds of millions of years. Soil bacteria consume these organic compounds released by roots and break them down through their own metabolic processes. As bacteria digest plant sugars and convert them to energy, they release electrons as a natural metabolic byproduct. These electrons flow continuously through the soil wherever plants grow, and bacterial colonies feed on root secretions. For billions of years, these electrons simply dissipated into the ground uselessly. The energy was real, but uncaptured. The electricity existed, but served no purpose beyond bacterial metabolism. The phenomenon occurred everywhere plants grew, while humanity remained completely oblivious. Then researchers at Wageningen University discovered how to capture these electrons and convert them into usable electrical current. The technology is remarkably simple. Insert an anode electrode near plant roots where bacteria release electrons. Insert a cathode electrode at the soil surface where oxygen is available. Connect the electrodes through an external circuit. Electrons flow from anode to cathode through the circuit, generating continuous electrical current. The plant is not harmed. The plant is not modified. The plant simply grows normally while bacteria beneath it release electrons that flow through a circuit instead of dissipating uselessly. The electricity generation is a byproduct of natural processes that occur regardless of whether humans capture them. There is a pioneering Dutch company that has successfully transformed this laboratory science into working technology operating reliably in the real world right now. Plant E was founded in 2009 as a commercial spin-off from groundbreaking research conducted at Wageningen University in the Netherlands. The founding team included dedicated scientists who had spent years studying plant microbial fuel cells in academic settings and believed the technology was finally ready for real-world commercial deployment. They set out to prove definitively that plant-powered electricity generation could work reliably outside controlled laboratory conditions in actual outdoor environments. Their first major demonstration powered over 300 LED lights using a green roof system. The installation ran continuously using only plants, soil, and electrodes. No solar panels supplemented the system. No batteries stored excess power. The plants generated electricity directly, and the lights stayed illuminated. The company then installed plant-powered street lights in Hembrugge, a district in the Netherlands. These lights operate today using the same technology. Grass and wetland plants grow in containers beneath each light pole. Electrodes buried in the growing medium capture electrons released by soil bacteria. The current powers the lights through every night, regardless of weather conditions. Plant E developed modular systems that can be deployed anywhere plants grow. Their technology works with rooftop gardens, decorative planters, wetlands, and agricultural fields. Any area where plants grow in soil can potentially generate electricity using their electrode systems. The output remains modest by current development standards. Approximately 0.4 watts per square meter represents typical current generation. A rooftop garden of 100 square meters generates roughly 40 watts continuously. This powers small devices, sensors, and LED lighting, but cannot yet support high-consumption appliances. However, theoretical maximum output reaches 3.2 watts per square meter as the technology improves. Scaling this across the world's rice paddies, lawns, and wetlands produces electricity generation potential measuring in hundreds of gigawatts. The modest current output represents early development, not fundamental limitation. There's a suppression pattern surrounding plant electricity that reveals industry priorities clearly. MIT has conducted research on bioelectrochemical systems, microbial fuel cells, and related technologies for decades. Their research papers appear in scientific journals accessible to specialists, but rarely reach public awareness. The findings confirm that biological systems can generate electricity. The applications remain largely unexplored commercially. Stanford researchers have studied plant energy systems and published findings that support the underlying science. Their work validates the phenomenon documented by European researchers. The American scientific establishment understands that plants can generate electricity. Yet American media coverage of plant electricity remains virtually non-existent. Technology publications that breathlessly cover every incremental battery improvement ignore breakthroughs in biological electricity generation. News organizations that devote extensive coverage to solar and wind developments provide zero coverage of plant power systems. The contrast reveals editorial choices shaped by advertising relationships. Energy companies spend billions annually advertising in major media outlets. Utility corporations purchase newspaper sections, television commercial blocks, and digital advertising placements that fund journalism operations. Media organizations depend on these advertising relationships for financial survival. Stories that threaten energy, company business models do not generate advertising support. Stories about free electricity from plants threaten $2 trillion in annual utility revenue. The advertising economics ensure that such stories do not receive prominent coverage regardless of their scientific validity. Plant-E operates successfully in the Netherlands but struggles to gain attention internationally. Their technology works demonstrably but remains unknown to most potential users. The suppression is not achieved through legal prohibition. The suppression is achieved through strategic silence from media organizations dependent on energy industry advertising. There is an economic comparison between plant electricity and conventional systems that explains the intensity of suppression. Solar panel systems for residential use cost between $15,000 and $30,000 for installation. Battery storage systems add another $10,000 to $20,000. The combined investment of $25,000 to $50,000 generates electricity for 20 to 30 years before requiring replacement. Plant electricity systems require electrodes, wiring, and growing medium. The electrode materials cost a fraction of solar panel manufacturing. The installation requires no certified technicians or specialized equipment. A planted area that would otherwise be decorative landscaping becomes a power generation asset with minimal additional investment. Solar panels degrade continuously from day one. Efficiency drops roughly 0.5% annually as photovoltaic materials deteriorate. After 25 years, panels operate at significantly reduced capacity and require replacement. Plants reproduce themselves indefinitely. Grass regrows continuously. Wetland species spread and multiply naturally. The biological component of plant electricity systems maintains and replaces itself without human intervention or additional expense. A plant power system potentially operates for decades without the degradation that affects manufactured systems. Solar panels produce zero electricity at night. Battery storage addresses this limitation, but adds substantial cost and creates toxic waste disposal challenges when batteries reach end of life. The entire solar industry depends on expensive storage solutions to address fundamental intermittency problems. Plants generate electricity continuously. Bacterial metabolism continues at night. Root exudates release constantly as plants maintain themselves. The electron flow never stops, regardless of lighting conditions. No battery storage is required because generation never ceases. The economics favor plant electricity dramatically over manufactured alternatives. The energy industry cannot allow this comparison to reach public consciousness. Their entire business model depends on selling expensive equipment and charging ongoing fees for electricity that plants could provide essentially free. There is a scaling potential to plant electricity that could transform global energy distribution. Rice paddies cover approximately 160 million hectares worldwide. These wetland agricultural systems provide ideal conditions for plant microbial fuel cells. The flooded growing conditions enhance conductivity. The dense root systems of rice plants release abundant organic compounds. The existing agricultural infrastructure requires minimal modification for electricity generation. At current technology output of 0.4 watts per square meter, rice paddies alone could generate approximately 64 gigawatts continuously. This exceeds the total electricity consumption of many smaller nations. This comes from agricultural land already in production that requires no conversion from other uses. At theoretical maximum output of 3.2 watts per square meter, rice paddies could generate over 500 gigawatts. This approaches the total electrical generation capacity of the United States. This comes from a single crop type grown primarily in developing nations where electricity access remains limited. The implications for energy equity are revolutionary. Rural communities in developing nations could generate electricity from the same rice paddies that feed their families. Village-scale power generation becomes possible without massive infrastructure investments. Energy independence reaches populations currently dependent on expensive diesel generators or non-existent grid connections. The $2 trillion electricity industry depends on centralized generation and distribution infrastructure. They build power plants, costing billions. They construct transmission networks spanning continents. They maintain the complexity that justifies their existence and their profits. Distributed plant electricity eliminates the need for centralized infrastructure entirely. Every farm becomes a power plant. Every lawn becomes a generation asset. Every wetland becomes an energy source. The entire model of centralized electricity production and distribution becomes obsolete. There is a research trajectory that has been deliberately slowed despite proven results. The fundamental science behind plant microbial fuel cells was documented in academic literature beginning in the early 2000s. Wageningen University published breakthrough research that demonstrated practical electricity generation from living plants. The findings were verified, replicated, and accepted by the scientific community. 2 decades have passed since those initial breakthroughs. The technology has improved incrementally, but has not achieved commercial scale deployment. Funding for research and development remains minimal compared to investments in conventional renewable energy. Solar power receives billions in government subsidies, research funding, and private investment annually. The solar industry benefits from policy support at every level of government. Mandates, tax credits, and favorable regulations drive adoption regardless of underlying economics. Plant electricity receives effectively zero government support. No subsidies encourage installation. No mandates require consideration in renewable energy planning. No tax credits incentivize adoption. The technology that could provide the cheapest and most sustainable electricity generation receives no policy support whatsoever. The disparity is not accidental. Solar panel manufacturers, battery companies, and utility corporations fund lobbying operations that shape energy policy. They ensure that subsidies flow to technologies they control and profit from. They ensure that competing technologies receive no support regardless of technical merit. Plant electricity cannot be monopolized. No corporation can patent the biological processes that generate electrons. No manufacturer can corner the market on grass and wetland plants. No utility can meter the electricity generated by backyard gardens. The technology is inherently democratic and decentralized. Technologies that empower individuals and communities rather than corporations do not receive policy support because corporations write energy policy through their lobbyists. The suppression is systemic and deliberate. There's a do-it-yourself potential to plant electricity that threatens corporate control entirely. The basic components of a plant microbial fuel cell are available to anyone. Carbon-based electrodes, simple wiring, and ordinary plants combine to generate electricity without specialized expertise. Science educators have built working plant electricity demonstrations, using materials costing under $50. Online communities have begun sharing designs for homemade plant power systems. Hobbyists experiment with different electrode materials, plant species, and system configurations. The knowledge to build plant electricity systems is spreading beyond institutional control. The current output from homemade systems remains small. Powering small LED lights, sensors, and low-consumption devices is achievable, Powering household appliances requires either larger installations or technology improvements that continued research would deliver. But the trajectory is clear. Early solar panels powered only small devices. Battery technology began with limited capacity and short lifespan. Every energy technology that eventually achieved scale started with modest capability and improved through sustained development. Plant electricity has received almost no development investment compared to competing technologies. The modest current output reflects funding starvation rather than fundamental limitation. The theoretical maximum output demonstrates what the technology could achieve with proper support. Every household with a garden could potentially generate electricity continuously. Every farm could potentially power operations from agricultural land already in production. Every community could potentially achieve energy independence using local plant resources. The vision terrifies corporations that profit from energy dependence. They have responded by ensuring this vision receives no support, no publicity, and no pathway to scale. They hope the technology remains permanently marginalized while they continue extracting payments from captive customers. There is a future available that the energy industry is desperately fighting to prevent. Imagine neighborhoods where lawns generate the electricity that powers homes. Imagine cities where rooftop gardens eliminate utility bills entirely. Imagine rural communities where rice paddies provide both food and electricity simultaneously. Imagine a world where energy corporations cannot threaten to disconnect families from essential services. This future requires no science fiction breakthroughs. The technology exists today and has been demonstrated repeatedly. The plants that could generate this electricity grow everywhere in the world already. The knowledge to capture plant electricity is documented in scientific literature accessible to anyone. The only barriers are funding, policy support, and public awareness. The energy industry has successfully suppressed all three. They have ensured that plant electricity research remains underfunded, ignored by policymakers, and unknown to the general public. This video breaks the information barrier. The science is now explained. The proof is now documented. The suppression is now exposed. What happens next depends on whether this information spreads or disappears. The energy industry has $2 trillion annually at stake. They will fight to maintain public ignorance. They will continue funding media through advertising that ensures unfavorable coverage never reaches audiences. They will continue lobbying policymakers to exclude plant electricity from renewable energy support. One revolutionary technology that generates completely free electricity from ordinary living plants growing anywhere on Earth. One powerful industry, spending billions of dollars annually to ensure nobody ever discovers this alternative, exists. One fundamental choice facing everyone who has watched this video to the end. The file is completely open now. The suppressed knowledge cannot be contained any longer if enough people choose to share it with others. The future of free electricity already exists in every garden, every lawn, every farm field, and every wetland on Earth just waiting to be harvested. Subscribe now and hit the bell to see what other revolutionary technologies are being actively suppressed while powerful industries protect their profits from solutions that actually work.